Hey everyone, it's the Miserable Movie Man back again with another video. So my last video was on Deadpool and Wolverine, and it listed a lot of things I liked about it, and it was spoiler free, and obviously I thoroughly enjoyed it. But there were a few things that didn't sit that well with me, or I thought were not particularly great about the film. Obviously it's not without its flaws in some areas. So I just want to list a few of those things and see what folks think, if you agree or have a different opinion. But warning, this does contain spoilers for the movie, so if you haven't seen it, go and watch it first and then come back and watch the video. Okay, first, so the concept of the anchor being for the realities was pretty new. We've heard of Nexus beings before in the MCU, but anchor beings, a little bit of a strange concept. I think it was pretty much pulled out of somewhere to give a plausible reason for them to have Wolverine team up with Deadpool. And Wolverine being an anchor being is interesting because it seems that this anchor being concept is almost like a chosen being in each reality that needs to be there for it to survive. So I wasn't too enamored with that concept. I thought it was a little bit of too much of a gimmick or a MacGuffin to try and get Wolverine in there. I think the Nexus beings in both the comics and potentially the MCU work okay, and mostly these beings are folks who can, alter probability or alter reality. So, people like Kang or Scarlet Witch. So it didn't make a whole lot of sense to have an anchor being kind of be anyone. Maybe this will be used to set up some interesting plot lines in the future, depending on who Marvel decides is the anchor being for each reality. And having Wolverine being an anchor being was a little bit weird. So wasn't a huge fan of that. Then also, having Wolverine being the anchor being does raise some questions that I'm still a bit confused about, and if anyone knows, please let me know in the comments below. But if Wolverine was the anchor being for Deadpool's reality, and Deadpool goes to find Wolverine's bones, then was he going forward in time of his own timeline to try and find Logan's bones that were buried? Because Logan is set in the future. Or if that's not the case, then also, where's the Wolverine of his reality? If it's the one that's supposedly dead, and that's the one from the X-Men franchise, then, as I said, Logan takes place in the future, but that would also mean that that is the franchise in reality where Deadpool was created as part of the Wolverine film where Ryan Reynolds had his first role. So that's also, I mean, there are some flashbacks to that in the film, but it didn't really make a lot of sense to me if that was supposed to be a different reality that Deadpool is going to try and find Wolverine, or if that was the same Deadpool as the reality of the previous Fox X-Men films. So yeah, it was quite confusing to me how they were trying to utilize the multiverse concept to reference Logan from the films and the X-Men films, and have Deadpool interact with him. I mean, I know he has the TVA gizmo that allows him to transverse realities and timelines, and but it still didn't make a lot of sense. So if someone knows what happened there, then let me know. I was pretty confused by how that all tied together. And then another thing that I wasn't too enamored over was obviously the Wolverine that he does find, who initially, when he popped his claws, I thought, is this Wolverine with small claws? That Wolverine let his reality down, and there was a huge thing about, how everyone knows him and how sad he is. But the payoff or the explanation didn't work that well for me. I mean, what is it? Wolverine walked away when the X-Men needed him, and somehow the X-Men with all these fantastical powers were overwhelmed by the humans. That sounded like really not a great reason for that Wolverine to be the bane of that reality. Yeah, I guess it could depress him if he walked away and they needed him and they all died. But one, this is the X-Men we're talking about, and two, it set up to be so big that having Wolverine just walk off didn't seem as impactful as it should have been from sort of the effects that it has on Wolverine. So that was another thing I thought wasn't great. And then I guess finally, The cameos were really good in many ways. I thought Wolverine was hilarious, and seeing comic book accurate Wolverine was hilarious. But I also thought at the end, when everyone is together again, like, where was Blade? I mean, it would be nice for Blade to have been there, or even funnier if they had Mahershala Ali as the new Blade sitting there after Wesley Snipes' tongue-in-cheek nod to camera about how there can only ever be one Blade. So yeah, that I thought was a little bit strange as well. And then another thing was Cassandra Nova, who was a pretty big deal in the comics. And her powers were okay in this, but again, it just seemed, why would she need henchmen if she's that powerful? And again, power levels fluctuated a few times, as they tend to do in films where the writers depend on changing things for the situations. Why the helmet on her own head prevented her from using her powers on herself, I don't know, because I thought that was just supposed to block her from controlling others. So a few little things that didn't quite make sense. I thought Cassandra Nova was okay as a villain, but the fact that the TVA brought her straight into the void was interesting enough, and how she assembled her team of folks. But again, you see Eliath running through people, and then you don't see anyone really die, or how do they survive the last time Eliath came through everyone? Again, little things like this, which look cool on film and help add to the tension, weren't really fully explained or didn't make a lot of sense. So there you have it. Those are some of the reasons about things that didn't quite work or didn't sit so well with me for the film. But as I said, I really enjoy watching the film. It moves along at a fast pace. Great fun to watch. Loads of crazy violence in it. So, check it out. And if you know any answers to questions or have a different view, let me know in the comments below. As always, like, share, and subscribe. And I'll catch you in the next one.